What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to show you how to build a two-stroke engine. And guys, it is not just any old two-stroke engine, it is your 2004 RM250 giveaway bike engine. And not only are we going to start the bottom end building process today, but I also have a lot of really cool things that came back to share with you regarding your build. Now, if you guys have been following the series, thank you so much. And you also know your engine cases didn't exactly look this nice before, so I will leave some links below so you guys can catch up if you're new. And by the way, if you are new, my name's Charles. I own mXrevival. I have the pleasure of building custom dirt bikes for a living, which is crazy to say out loud. And most of the time I give them away, except for this 03 KX250. Anthony, if you're watching, thank you for the work, dude. I'm so flattered. Now, in today's video, I have a few very specific things we're going to tackle together, not necessarily in this order either. We're going to show you guys all the tools and materials you need to build just about any dirt bike bottom end, two-stroke or four-stroke. I'm going to show you where to get the tools, where to get the materials. We're also going to check out, before we start, some of the awesome coatings that came back for your motorcycle. We've got your clutch cover, your primary cover, all your brakes are done. And then, of course, as promised, we're going to be picking my lucky winner for the vapor blasting. I'll be performing this for one of my lucky mXrevival monthly subscription members. That's also how you win these dirt bikes. More on that in the links below. But I have all my awesome members' names in the hat. We're going to pick one of you guys and find out which one of my members is winning the vapor blasting. I'll do your engine cases, I'll do your brakes. We'll figure out whatever it is you need done. And then I will also be announcing this month of April's brand new giveaway for my mXrevival monthly members as well. And if you're a little confused, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, MXR monthly, win bikes, win parts, whatever, every month for my mXrevival monthly members, I'll be either giving away a fully built dirt bike when they're done, or if I don't have a bike ready yet, I'll be giving you an MX part, product, or service. So go ahead and check out those links below when you have some free time. Otherwise, let's go ahead and dive into this video. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some of your awesome parts and pieces that have come back from coatings. Go ahead and start with this bottom end here. Guys, you know I'm a huge fan of Cerakote concrete on the RM250 or Suzuki in general. It's a very cool Suzuki-esque color. I would maybe not have gone concrete on this particular build had the 89 RM250 giveaway not already been pretty much done with lots of concrete on it, which is, as some of you know, the inspiration for this 04 RM250 that's going to have a total vintage look. So it's going to be sick. I'm not mad at a little extra concrete. Now this other color, this is called Desert Sage. And I know it might be a little out of left field for you right now, but when I saw this and sort of envisioned this against the traffic blue frame that Dean's about to finish for you guys, oh, I could just see it looking so good. A little bit different, kind of an old school color, but kind of not. A little modern meets old school, vintage, that blue frame with that Desert Sage. I think it's going to look really good. And of course, I mean, the vapor blasting, unreal. So your cylinder will look like this too. That's currently at Power Seal, getting re-plated, new Nicosil with a bore matched piston. So that will be back soon. And we'll get that rest of that built in another part of this video. And so we'll be focusing on getting all the bearings and oil seals installed into this bottom end today and phase into videos afterwards where we are building the rest of the engine, transmission, exhaust valve, etc. Dino over at Fast Blast and Coat got you guys dialed in with a little more concrete. I love this freaking color. It's got a bit of a gloss to it. It's just such a good looking color for any build. And I went ahead and went with the gray, the concrete gray lids as well. I just felt like a sort of a monotone on the brakes across the board rather than having, say, like a black or a different color cap. Kind of felt more vintage. Of course, we'll go ahead and get brand new sight glasses pressed into all your brakes and everything. Of course, the hardware is out, getting done right now. All the new zinc. It's going to be nice, shiny silver on this build. Brand new RMZ450 engine. It's another build series you guys can check out to get some free time. Another giveaway bike. Did a little work on that this morning. But the task at hand here, we've talked about what came back. Your awesome bottom end, your vapor blasting, your coatings. Now let's go ahead and go over the tools and materials you will need to do this job. Of course, today if we're installing bearings and seals in this bottom end, that means bearings, seals, and then some keepers. Got some new screws here. Talk about what keepers are if you're not familiar with them. A lot of you already will be, but that's sort of square one with the bottom end build here. So of course we've got some brand new OEM crank bearings here. We've got a Hot Rods transmission bearing kit. We don't necessarily need this yet, but the engine fastener kit from Bolt Motorcycle Hardware. Absolute favorite. Every bag is itemized with what's in it. Bright and shiny zinc with the dished heads. Kind of looks like a faux tie. Can never get enough of those. Now, of course, we have the Tusk oil seal kit here. What I like about this kit is it does the entire engine. Every once in a while, you get a bike with an oddball seal, say for the coolant, which is not an oil seal, between these center cases here. And it won't come in anybody's oil seal kit, so be on the lookout for that. I'll show you guys what I mean when we get inside of there. But other than that, it is all in this kit, which is very, very nice. It's also very affordable. We've got some 1211. This will come in handy to get an extra good seal around all the oil seals themselves as they get mated into the engine cases. These guys are your water pump and exhaust valve governor bearings. Of course, when we get into these keeper screws, we're going to use some Stuck Nuts high strength thread locker. And something I've been geeking out on big time lately. If you guys haven't tried this yet, I'm pretty sure it's brand new. At least I just started seeing it. This Tusk contact cleaner, unreal. You guys need to buy it in bulk like you're at Costco. In love with that stuff. Now, everything we are talking about now will be linked below for you guys. They are affiliate links, so thank you so much for checking them out. Now, we've talked about everything we're going to be using in terms of raw materials to get your bottom end prepped for the transmission and crank to go in, etc. Now let's talk about the tools. Pretty minimal overall. Now for these keeper screws, we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a Prime MX screwdriver, number 3 JIS in this particular case. Somebody go ahead and leave a comment explaining what JIS means below. Just help out a fellow bike builder. We've got some taps here. We're going to use these taps to clean out any remaining blast media, meaning media from the vapor blasting cabinet, where I've done the center cases, and any other gritty material that might be in these coated parts, because both of those require a media blasting procedure to get them where they are. And so therefore, no matter how much air or water went into trying to clean the vapor blasted cases in the cabinet, there may still be some extra bead. I can almost guarantee it. And sometimes, although not as much with these smaller covers, you also get a little bit of the garnet sand that's left behind from putting a profile, kind of like a primer, if you will, on these parts before the coating goes down. That's what helps them stick. So we need to go ahead and use our taps here to get any media out that we can, a little more compressed air. Got this old seal driver here. I'll be upgrading to the Tusk seal driver here shortly. This is just something I've had around since I was a kid, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how it's still alive, but we're gonna need that to punch the seals into these cases after the bearings go in. And then of course, ahead of that, we're gonna go ahead and get these cases nice and hot on this hot plate, another tool for today, so that the cases can actually expand. Meanwhile, your crank bearings and your transmission bearings are going to be in the shop freezer contracting. So you got those getting smaller, and you got the bores in the cases getting larger. That helps everything drop right in. And to drop them in, we'll be using these bad boys inside retaining ring pliers. Amazing, game changer. We've got a brass punch for when things don't go quite our way. Now this is not what you need. You do not need a single jack. The regular hammer, no idea where it is in the shop, but that would be for coaxing the brass drift there. So you don't need a hammer like this for any dirt bike job, save for maybe you have a frozen swing arm main pin. So don't get the wrong idea with that bad boy. Maybe if somebody breaks in, it'll come in handy. Now that about covers it for, again, the raw materials and the tools we're going to need today. So if you guys, as we go along, decide you need any of this stuff, you want to expand your tool arsenal, you want to get a great deal on any of these parts, I will leave you links below. Rocky Mountain, thank you so much for sending almost everything you see here. It is amazing to have your support. It's a game changer for me, and I really appreciate you guys. I will, of course, leave you guys links to the taps, the seal drivers, Dino if you need to get some parts coded, and everything we are getting into today. So thank you guys, too, for all of your support. Without you, none of this really goes down the same way, so it means the world to me. All right, so we know what we need to do. Let's go ahead and hop over to the shop computer real quick. I'm going to pick my lucky vapor blasting winner. I've got you guys all queued up in the random name picker. Can't wait to see who wins. And after this, we will go ahead and get to work. So right now we've got 60 active members. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for helping me chase this dream. All 60 of you guys are right there. I've got your names in, let's see, where's my spreadsheet? There's my spreadsheet. I got this down to 61. That's because line 1 up here is actually taken by subscription name, customer name, and subscription count. So that makes 60 total. I got you in my random name picker. Right there. Amount 60. So we'll give you guys a quick shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's find out who's going to win this bad boy. We got the start button right here. Who's it going to be? Daniel, congrats, dude. I'm going to be doing some vapor blasting for you. we'll get you squared away. I'll reach out to you. I've obviously got your email and phone number and everything. So thank you so much for being a member. And let's go ahead and get on with the show. How freaking cool is that? Dan, I'm gonna be doing some vapor blasting for you, buddy. Check that out. So if you got some ratty old stuff for me, go ahead and start thinking about if you want to send me your brakes or whatever it may be that you need done. We'll go ahead and handle it for you. And thank you so much for being a part of this. I can't do this without you guys. It means the world to me. All right, first thing I like to do is crack into all the bearings and get them into the freezer. Now, the tray they come in or packaging works as a great tray to keep them all together in the freezer. So the Hot Rods transmission bearing kit comes with all the bearings for your transmission, obviously, and the reason I like this combo, the Hot Rods transmission kit and the OEM crank bearings, is because it gives you a really affordable setup that's also really reliable. If you guys have ever seen a Suzuki OEM microfiche, you know that these bearings can be anywhere from $50 to $100 a piece, if not discontinued. So like I said, this is the setup I really like, and I actually didn't realize that this Hot Rod kit actually came with part of the output shaft kit. So it's got the circlip for your sprocket and the collar that goes behind your sprocket. So that's pretty awesome. We won't be putting those in the freezer. Otherwise, it's got the 2 primary shaft bearings, it's got the 2 secondary shaft bearings, and it has the 2 bearings for your shift drum. Awesome. Then of course, Suzuki OEM crank bearings. Over the years, the Suzuki has changed the crank bearing style. I think right after this 04, they had a groove type, which held in by keepers. You guys can see the groove around this sucker. You can tell when something's like that it needs a keeper to hold it in. Like I said, we'll get to that pretty soon. But the 04 didn't have that. I think the 05, 6, 7, and 8 had a keeper style, but I also believe they're the same as the YZ250. Almost positive. The RM250 engine is, in fact, a clone of the YZ250. That's why it's so damn good, except a lot less flywheel weight. So it's more caffeinated than the YZ and also has a little less bottom end. Fact for the day. I'm gonna go ahead and separate these a little bit, put the crank bearings in the old Hot Rods bag. Also a lot of oil on these. That's nice. They're not gonna show up corroded. And then we've got a couple of small bearings for the water pump and governor. It's never a bad idea to open your cases up in ID where you think things are going to go first. So if that helps you segregate things rather than lumping them all together like I'm doing here, so that you can be more organized, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll go ahead and throw these in the freezer, and then we're going to start using the tap to clean out your engine cases. So I was raving about this Tusk contact cleaner. If you guys are used to using something a little more harsh, like a brake cleaner, which is kind of what I was using more often than not, stuff stinks really bad, and I'm not saying that the Tusk stuff is any less harmful for your lungs. Of course, everything's a chemical, but this stuff has a very low odor, and it cleans insanely well. It just got all the oil off my hands from the Hot Rods bearing kit, so love this stuff. It comes with a straw too, so that's kind of nice if you're a straw guy. And of course, I'm going to be using that Tusk contact cleaner like crazy because I don't want to get any oily fingerprints on your gorgeous engine cases. I don't know, you guys see it? The Desert Sage? You think I'm nuts? I think it's going to look really good. Go ahead and get this clutch cover out of the way completely. We will not need it today at all. This guy off. All this stuff is just to temp it all together. Some loose hardware I've got. You guys can see what happens when you have like a glycol or water-based coolant in your bike that just sits. It starts to actually erode the metal here, so you get some pitting. So Evans is the cure for that. Waterless coolant. Everything else in here, give it a little vapor blast, just a dusting off before it went over to Dean's for coatings. We've got 2 bearings to install here. Dino hooked you guys up on your ignition cover. He likes to do the Cerakote and then do a little brushing. He burns the Cerakote back off the Raise logo. He can also do something like this with colors if you have a logo like the Honda that's sunken in rather than raised up like the Suzuki one. But anyways, another killer touch. I don't ask him to do any of this stuff. He's just an enthusiast himself and loves to do cool things for us. Let's get these guys torn apart here. There we go. Same inside here, the vapor blast. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's kind of these little specks and dots, and that tells me that my media is getting old and might be a little bit contaminated. So when you vapor blast, that sort of a finish will happen. Maybe there's a better example. I don't know if you guys can see the sort of spotty finish, but as your media gets older and you vapor blast, if you don't stay on top of a section or you leave it for a while and it still has all the water on it while you're making your way around everywhere else, it'll start to sort of oxidize like that. So I'm looking at a couple spots where I'm like, yep, it's time to go ahead and change. See the sort of speckling in here? It's time to change that media out. But I keep it moving on the outside, and you can probably tell the difference. It's quite gorgeous. So we've got these open so we can run some taps. And I'm going to go ahead and use this setup here. This is like a tap holder that goes onto a 3/8 ratchet, which is completely overkill for what we're doing. So you want to do this gently and not run the parts too hard. Taps are actually made to cut threads, not necessarily to clean them out, but they do work great for a clean out rather than a thread chaser where the flutes sort of stop and you have to pack them with grease. I don't want to do that, so we'll get out what we can with these taps. Another way to do it is this tap here. I'll leave links for all this stuff below so you can pick your poison. Here's a little handheld guy, a little more like normal where you'd have the T-handle and you could spin it in. This will hold a tap as well. It's just the baby version. And then for bigger taps, these all came in a kit. Still 3/8, but you can put some M10 whoppers in there if you need to clean out some cylinder stud holes or threads or whatever it may be. So we're M6x1, which is a very typical size for a dirt bike. This hole here is a through hole. So as we make our way through, we don't even really need to tap this one. The ones we're more concerned about are going to be, say, this guy here, where it does not protrude out the other side. Happens to be a hole there, but that's not any part of the threaded hole on this side. So media can get stuck in holes like this, and so we want to get it out now because we'll be putting your engine together and either start to run a bolt in and it may get stuck, unlikely, but you'll feel it sort of grinding and getting crunchy in there. You don't want that, and then if you were to extract that bolt and you got a bunch of crunch in there, you risk actually getting it into your engine, which is obviously in the cleanest state it's ever been in since maybe it was new. It might even be better than that in some cases. So you really want to put an emphasis on these holes where the bead can get in, but it has a hard time getting out, even with the water rinse inside the cabinet and even with some compressed air after that. So we'll see if I can get some crap to fall out of here. And looks like it's a little bit a mix of just alloy and a little bit of bead. It went in easy, came out easy. After this step, as we make our way around everything here on the bench, go ahead and hit it with some compressed air again. And if you feel things being extra crunchy, you can go ahead and redo whatever threaded hole it was. There's no such thing as being too thorough. A little bit of air, get that sucker cleaned back out like so. Same thing with the threaded hole. Get it away from your workspace. You don't want to blow that crap out on your workspace. You want to do that all the way around on every case, on every hole that does not pass all the way through. I even got a little bit of debris. Let's see if I can show you. And this could just be a little bit of debris from grease and whatever over the years, but that also came out of that tapped hole right there, that black crud. So, all right, so I've made my way around with the tap all the way through this particular case half. Of course, lots of this tusk cleaner in between. Keep my hands clean. You do get a little bit of an aluminum debris mixed with old gunk as you go, so you don't want that on your engine cases if you've done some vapor blasting like this. Also be aware of the fact that there are holes inside the engine cases, not just the perimeter. So you've got your Kickstarter mechanism tab right here. You've got some smaller M5s right here that'll also come in that kit that'll link below. You've got a bunch of different sizes. And then you've got like your pizza cutter, your shift segment, all kinds of stuff like that. Lots of different stuff in there. So just make sure you get all that. And when you're done, a little air at the end here. You'll feel it come out. It'll be hitting you in the face and all this and that. So maybe some safety glasses as well. All right, now it's time to fire up the old hot plate. Run that thing all the way up. I'll link this below too. We're going to get this case hot. So while we're waiting on this one to heat up and we've got our bearings in the freezer, we're going to go ahead and use the tap on the other case half. Get this one ready to go as well. So by the time we're done with this, maybe a little longer in some cases, this sucker should be up to temperature. It'll be ready and hot. These holes where all the bearings live are going to expand. We'll go ahead and drop in the contracted bearings, and that should be a wrap on all of those. All right, that engine case is piping hot, Bearings are cold. Everything's ready to go. We're going to drop these in. It's important to note that some bearings have a seal on one side and not on others. That indicates it is directional. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the description for you guys. As you can see, this one's either or. Letters like to face us out towards you as we drop them in. I'm going to leave a link for you guys so that you can actually download for free the 06 RM250 shop manual that I have. That will aid with procedures, photos, everything you need for this particular job. And I'll keep coming up with those manuals as time goes on. But right now, I'm going to go ahead, grab that hot case, bring it over here. We're going to drop some bearings in. Got some wood blocks here. Still need to build the little wood square for engines. Getting the shop rebuilt here. Some paper towels. Obviously, these are quite disgusting. We've got our inside retaining ring pliers. Got our iced out bearings here, fresh out of the freezer. Go ahead and get your pliers. Get yourself, we'll start with the crank bearing. The letters are facing me on this bad boy. And nice and straight, best you can. She's in. As you can see, the heat makes a huge difference. Another bearing. This is sealed side out. This is what you'll see in the manual. Oh, see, I blew it. Give it a little love tap. So that's what happens when you don't go in straight on the first try. You end up needing to coax it. Another one in the rear here. Nice and straight, no problem. And I've got a shift drum bearing here that's sealed on one side, and it'll be sealed towards the inside of the case. And nice and straight. Okay, good. So you guys can see what happens when you get the bearing nice and straight. Drops right in. Everything except for this primary shaft bearing, which I had to walk in with the brass punch because I didn't get a nice straight drive at dropping that thing in. So they go in a little bit sideways, they get a little sticky, and then you can walk them in with the brass punch. This thing's a lifesaver. And also only working the outer race. You do not want to hit the inner race of this bearing. I'm just giving this light love taps all the way around, working it so that you don't cock the thing sideways even worse. So little taps alternating side to side. You'll drive her home. Everything else dropped right in, no problem. If I were a little more proactive, I would have thrown this up right on the hot plate as soon as that other one came off as well. That one's going to need to go this direction. Jeez, that thing looks so beautiful. I've got one more bearing here for the other side. It's for the exhaust valve governor. And if we're still warm enough, dropped right in. Basically just used a pokey, cheap version of the inside retaining ring pliers. These are absolute junk. Actually pulled them out of the garbage to drop that in. I'll give you guys a close-up view of the next bearings we drop in together. I know that was a little far away. Time to put this thing on the concrete. It's going to suck all the heat out of this bad boy. Now here's a trick I learned from Tony. If you want to know if this case is hot enough, wait for the sizzle. Then you know you're good. See if I can get you guys that shot I promised you. Letters towards us. Got the output shaft bearing, groove side up for the bearing keepers. Shift drum bearing, letters out. Oh, she's going to be stubborn. Seal side towards the outside of the engine. There we go. Get a little supplemental heat on that. Don't make me beat you. You want a beating. It happens. So this thing is still piping hot. We get all your bearings in. We'll get it on the concrete. Get the heat sucked out of it. Move on to the primary cover. Go ahead and warm up this primary cover and get the heat sucked out of everything else. And then we can move on to bearing keepers, keeper screws, the thread locker, and then finally the oil seals. Now you guys can see why the brass punch is such a handy tool. The brass is actually a softer material than the steel found on the bearing races. And so you're not going to nick and mar and beat those to death and put nicks in them and stuff when you use a brass punch. You can also see why I need to build the little wooden engine stand, the little square ones you see some guys use, one day at a time, rebuilding the shop one tool at a time. But that would give me a much more level surface, and you can also position the cases inside of it to where when I was tapping in that last shift drum bearing, it's got a nice lock against the wood. It's not wobbling. You don't want that to be happening. So at least we caught that on film so you can see what not to do. Can't always show off every time. Doesn't always work out. All right, we've got our last two bearings, the exhaust valve governor bearing and the water pump bearing, impeller bearing. And I don't suspect any trouble out of these. Like I said, these ones usually just go in, no fuss, and blink, and blink. Done deal. Cool it off. That's that. See, that's what's supposed to happen with the rest of the stuff so I can look really cool. So everything's cooling off. Our very first case that we did is ready to go. It's ready for bearing keepers and keeper screws. So the keepers, you can see, where are we here? This threaded hole right there. A keeper is going to lay out over the edge of the bearing race there, and the screw is going to retain the keeper, and that keeps the bearing from coming out towards the transmission. I'm not really sure why. They have nowhere to go. I've even seen the keeper screws fall out and go through the transmission. It's really ugly. So always kind of wondered why they use them in certain areas in the first place. Maybe you guys know. I freaking love this contact cleaner. I love it so much. Works so good. All right, it's time to get these keeper screws in. And in this case, the Suzuki has 3 of these little 45 corner types that go into these engines. And of course, we're going to bust out our Prime MX JIS screwdriver, number 3. And your manual, or the one you can download that I'm going to leave you a link for, will show you where these go, what they look like. And then we're going to go ahead and use some of the Stuck Nuts high strength thread locker as well on these locations. Get a little, there you go. Go ahead and send her home, and you'll know that these keepers are where they're supposed to be when they're sitting flush up against that bearing race right there. If you got the keeper pointed at the sky, your bearing is not seated. Crank that sucker down. You can see that the 3 will not spin, it will not pop out, or the JIS screwdriver rather, not just the number 3, 2, 1, whatever it may be, but these JIS screwdrivers have a really amazing and positive lock on the Japanese screws. That's why they kick so much ass. So thanks, Cameron, for sending me these. Now you can see the one we just did, and here is our next one right here. That one is for the shift drum bearing. That is the same type of keeper. Limo red. Thank you, Sean, for the Stuck Nuts care package. Send her home. Very nice. Now you can peen these screws as well, so that if the screw starts to loosen up, it will get caught by the peen. I've never had one come apart yet. Not that I've done so many engines in my life, but I have not had bad luck just putting them in the same way you would receive it from the factory, which is without peens. We've got one more to do in that back corner where we just were. Wrong keeper. Back here. And when we move to the other engine case half, there's a different type of keeper and a different style screw. So we will go ahead and check that out together. Very nice. Locked in. So you guys can see this case is done. All the bearings are installed. The keepers are installed with their screws. None of the bearings, when the case was flipped to install that one tiny exhaust valve governor bearing, fell down. When the cases are hot, these bearings can fall out. So you want to keep an eye on that. You can always tell if they have a nice positive seat by looking at what they're touching. So this primary shaft, for example, butted up nicely against the engine case cast. Same here. Down here, same thing. And it can be tough to see it on the crank bearing, but if you look down in the crack, you'll actually see the outer race seated up against a little aluminum shoulder. It actually almost looks like it did fall out, but they haven't. There's just a little bit of a slight raise in that bearing there, as you can see. So this guy's ready for seals. And one more thing, just to kind of keep, if these end up sitting, because your transmission's not back from cryo heat yet, more on that in a minute, go ahead and throw some of this Maxima assembly lube in there. Get it spun through the balls. It's real sticky, and it will help with any corrosion. Like I said, if this is going to sit for a couple of weeks, any moisture in the air, obviously we got brand new bearings. We would hate for there to be any sort of corrosion mishap. So this stuff is pretty awesome. I'll go ahead and link this down below as well. I forgot about it. All right, we've got our other case half here. You can see, we kind of mentioned it earlier, this output shaft bearing here, right behind where your sprocket's going to live, has a groove in it. So this type of keeper actually lays into that groove on this bearing. And so rather than sit on top of it like the previous ones, it's actually going to catch that little notch or groove that's in this outer bearing race. And like I said, it has a different type of screw, so we will check that out. So back here we have this type of keeper. It's for a countersunk screw, as you guys can see. It's like a dish in the keeper. So when these guys go in, like I said, they're going to ride in the notch of that bearing. Both the keepers are sitting nice and flat. Awesome, we know that bearing is sunk in all the way to the shoulder. And here are the screws we'll be using. Like I said, these guys are countersunk. The other ones were more of a standard machine screw. Now some of these from Suzuki and probably other brands will come with a thread locker pre-installed on them, and that is actually the case for the exhaust valve governor that goes into the other case where we put the baby bearing in. Aside from the way they look, nothing special about them. It's rinse and repeat on this side. A little bit of that red stuck nuts. Ugh, a little too much nut. Oh boy. Drop it in the case. I don't know if Suzuki uses these countersunk type here because they have a clearance issue where if they were to use the machine screw, it would contact, you know, something rotating inside of there. That must be the case. They don't want it to get mashed up by a cog. Who the hell wants to be mashed up by a cog, right? There you go. There's the other one. So these ones are much easier to peen because they're flat rather than those machine screws. But there you have it. Red thread locker, in this case stuck nuts, and you are installed and ready to rock. Time for some seals. Don't forget the lube. All right, we're on the home stretch. We've got our engine case, we've got our little Tusk oil seal kit, and then we've got our seal driver. It's actually a bearing race driver. Like I said earlier, I've had this forever. The one I'm going to link for you guys, very similar. Going to get the job done just the same, if not better. So we'll go ahead and bust this bad boy open. We're going to go ahead and bust a myth about crank seals and the direction they face as well, because I see Facebook forums, this, that, and the other thing. Which way do my crank seals face? I don't know. Well, it's a little different than the Yamaha, so it throws people off. Bust this bad boy open here, and we're going to want to try and find a driver that sits flat over the tops of the things we are driving seals into. Let's go ahead and try this one. Perfect. Sits flat on here where we want to drive the seal. Sits flat on here where we want to drive the seal. We've got a smaller one for when we get back to the shift shaft seal here in the rear. So there's a size for every part of this job. And then we've got a clutch arm bearing seal that's going to go in here. You can just push that one in by hand. Don't really need a tool. So we'll go ahead and get what we need out of here. We've ID'd those parts. And we are about to be in Tusk contact cleaner heaven, because we also need to use, we don't need to use, but we're going to use the 1211. So this stuff will create an extra seal around your seals as you drive them into your engine cases. This is also insanely great for any previous damage. See if I can hone in on this in a moment for you guys, but the previous owner, or if you saw previous videos where these crank seals were just stuffed so far in that they were actually blocking the oiling holes, which caused this engine to seize. They also had a bunch of damage. There's a bunch of nicks and scathes. It's not too bad, but there's a bunch of burrs in here that shouldn't be in here from tool damage. So this is going to fill those gaps. It's going to give us a nice airtight seal on this dry side of the two-stroke here. I could have held off on the Maxima assembly lube because we want to keep these seal areas nice and dry. I didn't get any of that into these seal bores, but if it were to drip out of the bearings, then you got to clean it all off. So do that step after. Don't be like me. Stuff works so freaking good. You can use it on 4-stroke valve covers. You can use it on the ignition side where the wires come out of your stator or magneto housing, so that you can get a nice seal around those electrical connections or grommets. And then when you're done with it, it cleans so well. Smear it around. I don't have any inside the oil cup there. Lay it down like so, and then go to contact cleaner heaven. Then you can go ahead and, like I said, this is a race driver, so normally like a steering bearing race would go on this side here where it's tapered. We're going to use the rear and drive her home. You want to be mindful too, if you have a small seal that you're doing this to, you wouldn't want to put this bolt, which retains the driver on there, because it would just smash up the inside of the seal and ruin it. So be aware of that. In this case, it's going to fit right in the middle of there, no problem. Get it nice and straight in that bore. If you love taps, this one has a shoulder on it, so it's got a nice hard stop. You guys can see the 1211 kind of oozing out of the side there. Get that contact cleaner, little rag. It cleans up so nice. This stuff comes off. It's just wonderful to use. I absolutely love it. If you see it leave a little haze or a residue on your freshly vapor blasted engine cases, like I said, it cleans off so well. Brand new bearing, brand new seal. Gotta love that. Give you guys a close-up of the crank seal install. Get that all around the edges there. Don't get it on the inside of the seal. That's not good. I got a little booger there from the tube sort of having some dried up product on it. Watch out for that. Drop that in. And this side, you guys can see the seal is going in as you would expect it to, with the cup side in. The other side is the one that has the big debate. Get it started. Push it in a little bit. Love tap. You'll feel it stop, and you guys could probably hear it stop. Tusk. Give it a wipe. You'll end up with this nice little reveal or lip of this 1211 in a circle around the gap. And I think what confuses people on the RM250 is that it looks like the case is broken there. That's how these are manufactured. Where the hell am I? That little dip right there, it looks like this thing's broken off. But you want this seal flush with the lip that is raised. And this one's a little extra beat to death from what I mentioned earlier. Previous owner just going full ham on it. And this is the one I was talking about. You want to take that bolt out of your driver because you will destroy the most important part of that seal, which is the inside. Put our smaller driver on there. Start it. Gentle. And this one's not going to need any love taps or coaxing. It's just, they go in easy. Wipe that 1211 away. You guys get the point. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, pretty stinking fun. Can't believe I get to do this every day. There we go. Like I said, that one just goes in with your hand. Finger, easy. Got a little bit of 1211 on the lip, so we'll get that off. This isn't really one of those ultra critical seals, you know. That's a wrap on this case half. Let's go ahead and finish the seals on the other side. I did promise you guys I was going to show you that exception to oil seal kits. So the YZ250 and the CR250, for example, right here in this coolant port, those bikes I just mentioned both have an O-ring that goes right here. So I guess because technically it's not an oil seal, but rather a coolant seal, it's not included in any oil seal kits. You'll get it in complete gasket kits, but if a manufacturer doesn't make a complete gasket kit for your bike, then you end up with one of these Tusk oil seal kits, for example. You're going to want to make sure to jump into an OEM microfiche and grab that part, because you're going to do all this work. You're going to have your transmission ready. You're going to have your crank ready to go in, and then you're not going to be able to close it, and you're going to have to place an order and wait 2, 3, 4 days, whatever, to get that stupid seal. So be on the lookout for that. And thanks, Suzuki, for being awesome and deleting that. All right, the big mystery. What way does the crank seal go in on the Suzuki? Anybody know? You guys always see it go in flat, and that's not necessarily wrong. On the Suzuki, however, cup side goes out. So basically, the seals from the right side of the case and the left side of the case, if you were to look at them, they'd both be facing cup side this direction. So cup side out towards the right of the motorcycle. YZ, CR, it's this way. So on the RM, right in the manual, you will see that the cup side goes this way. And this is the thing that guys get really pissed off about, actually, on the internet. So Suzuki specifically, we're talking cup side out. It makes sense. Cup side is towards the oil. Think of a fork seal. Does the cup side face towards the ground so that all the oil pours out of your forks? I've put them in upside down before. Don't do it. You want the cup side, generally speaking, you want the cup side towards the oil. If you think about the dry side, the other case, you have this flat side towards atmosphere. and you would have the cup side towards the crankcase where you'd find oil and premix. So I don't know why all the other brands go the other way. Maybe the lips are different inside the actual structure of the seal, but Suzuki, cup side towards the oil. Now what's interesting about this Tusk oil seal is that they have this KTM style sort of exposed metal going on here on these seals. And on the other side, and in a lot of other cases, this metal would be the part that you'd see, which gives the rubber a nice head start. So I'm almost wondering if this Tusk one was manufactured in such a way that it should install like a YZ or a CR. And looking at the other case, when I look at the seal lips on the inside, what I just said by looking at the seal lips suggests that we do it exactly like the YZ or the CR. This lip on the outside is very pointed. This one on the inside sort of comes up to a shoulder and plateaus off. But they manufactured this stuff to meet OE specs, so we're going cup side towards the oil. Now, is our driver the right size? It is, and it's also going to miss this webbing right here in the case. You wouldn't want to snap something like that off or be hanging too far off the side. The original driver selection is actually perfect for what we're doing. And this is actually the only seal in this side. If you guys do put one of these in backwards on accident, then this is actually pretty easy to swap without taking your engine out. Both of them are actually pretty easy to swap without taking your engine out, but you pull your primary cover off, you use your idler or one of the other gears to jam behind your clutch basket and the primary gear, and then you're able to get the bolt out, pull the seal, put a new one in, put it all back together. You can do that right there on the stand with your engine installed. Now I want to make sure I don't have a bunch of this stuff on the back side of this seal. Get it inside of the crank bearing. That would not be good. So that is in, and I'll show you guys something else I just noticed from the previous installer. This post right here, you can see it's kind of beat to death right here on this edge where somebody drove in a crank seal previously. This is the little casting where the water pump shaft rides. And it definitely, it took some hits in the past. All right, last one, water pump seal and kick shaft seal. Now in the case of the water pump seal, you guys can see it protrudes, so we can't use the race and seal driver on it. 17mm socket in this case mates up to that seal perfectly. It's also not so large that it's going to hit the shoulder. It's going to drop right in. So the 17, like I said, in this case might be different for your bike. It's going to work perfectly for driving this seal in. Drop that bad boy in, taparoo. Here's another shot of that pitting from the water-based coolant. I'll do it. It looks nice and even all the way around. Last seal, guys. We're bringing her home. If you guys were curious about Cerakote and getting it into bores and things like that, Cerakote is awesome because it's a super thin film coating, and you can actually get it on threads. Not that you'd want to pile it on in there, or inside of caliper piston bores for your brakes, and it's not going to screw things up like, say, a powder coat would. You would not want powder coat in there. You'd never get the seal in. Last one. I think we're back on our original driver there. Cerakote's pretty tough too. It'll wear off like anything else, paint, powder coat, anodize, but it's pretty durable. So it can actually take, you know, roost on your fork lugs or whatever it may be. Another thing about the Cerakote, it can stand up to things like brake cleaner and contact cleaner when you get 1211 on them. So wipe it up, mess is gone. It's not going to melt the coating off. All right, guys, that's a wrap. We did it. This thing's definitely a little heavier than it was at the top of today's video, that's for sure. You guys have brand new bearings, brand new seals, everything. Oh, look at that thing. Jeez, holy crap. I'm so excited for one of you. Well, a lot of you, because you guys are winning every month. Guys, I hope the video was useful. I hope it was enjoyable. I hope you learned something. If you need any of today's hard parts, the bearings, the seals, the tools, I'll leave some links below. Huge thanks to Rocky Mountain for supplying most of that stuff. You can get everything you need there and so much more. If this is something you've been wanting to try and you haven't, believe me, there is absolutely nothing special about me at all. Any single person on the entire planet can do this. So don't stress, just take your time. Reach out for that free manual. Again, it's going to be a contact link because I can't give a link to the manual. You'll have to download it once I send it to you. but you are more than welcome to take advantage of that. I'd love to share it with you. So guys, what's up next for your 04 RM250 giveaway bike? Well, I've got your radiators back. It was a little too much to cram into today's video, but I spent a lot of time straightening the fins. They're OEM. They look very vintage. Dean did something very cool to them. So I'm going to show you those in the next video. Oh, and I almost forgot. Speaking of Dean, I'm going to go ahead for April's MXR monthly product giveaway. We're going to go ahead and take care of some coatings for anything of your choosing. So if you want your brakes to get coated, like the concrete ones we showed you earlier, it can be a different color, of course, or something like your engine, your primary covers, water pump covers, ignition clutch, something else, we're going to go ahead and handle it to you. So that will be the new mXrevival monthly giveaway for April. So be sure to hit mxrevival.com, get yourself signed up to win these bikes. It's only 15 bucks a month, or these MX parts, prizes, or services. As you saw earlier, there's only 60 members right now. This is brand new. You have zero competition, and besides that, I really appreciate your support. All right, so now that your engine is at this stage, it's just so distracting. It is so distracting. Look at that. It's ready for the transmission. It's ready for the crankshaft assembly. So in order for that to happen, I have your crankshaft assembly here, but your transmission is out for treatment at cryo heat right now. Now, if you've been with me on the mXrevival channel long enough, you know that cryo heat is actually a process whereby transmissions are hardened, made more durable, and then micro-polished. And so one thing that's really amazing about the hardening process and the micro-polishing process that cryo heat delivers for us is that when the transmission becomes more durable, not only is that great if you're a hardcore racer, but also bikes like these that are getting harder to find, eventually the cogs are going to be extinct. It's nice to know that you're going to get the best service life out of your transmission or whatever else that you can. So when I say we're at whatever else, we're going to have some surprises on the CR250 giveaway that's also going on. Josh over at Cryo and I are going to send him some weird stuff, and we're going to have some fun highlighting that. So your transmission will be back from cryo heat soon. Your crankshaft is here. We can go ahead and close this bottom end up, install all the shift mechanisms, what have yous on the right side of the engine. And then to tie things up, your cylinder is going to come back from Power Seal. It's going to have a fresh NICA seal bore with a bore matched piston. Got you some brand new exhaust valve parts. Everything is clean and ready to go. Lukey over at Fathead Racing is going to send us a tricked out cylinder head. Then your frames are going to come back from Dean. After that, we're off to the races. All your hardware has been prepped and it's out to zinc. So really excited about what's coming next for you. I'm going to set this down if you don't mind. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today. You know how much I appreciate you taking time out of your day, especially on a Saturday, to hang out with me here on YouTube. You guys, like I always say, you're the key to everything. You're helping me live my dream. It means the world to me. I literally cannot express it in words enough. So thank each and every one of you guys for giving me a reason to be grateful about just one more thing in my amazing life. Closing out, be sure to check out the links below. Check out the tools if you need them. Thanks so much for doing so. Check out mxrevival.com if you want to sign up to win one of these badass bike builds. You can see the list of upcoming bikes as well. And guys, that's a wrap. Thanks again for watching. Constructive criticism is always welcome. Until next time, shred safe, and I'll see you in the next one.